Just need to figure out the Matthew situation. That's what my wife Jessica wrote to her lover about me, her husband of 8 years reduced to a situation that needed handling. She didn't know I was reading every message, tracking every lie, photographing every hotel visit. She thought she was playing me, convincing me that her lover's baby was mine so she could have it all, the affair, the child, and my money when she eventually left. But while she was planning her exit strategy, I was building something far more devastating. What unfolded over the next 2 months will show you exactly how far a betrayed husband will go to ensure justice. Viewers, if you found messages about yourself being referred to as a situation that needed to be handled, how would you respond? Would you stay calm or confront immediately? Tell me in the comments. Before this story begins, subscribe. You'll never look at relationships the same way again. My name is Matthew Barnes and I'm a 34-year-old commercial architect living in Seattle, Washington. For 8 years, I built what I thought was the perfect life with my wife, Jessica. A modern townhouse overlooking Puget Sound, 2 successful careers, and plans for a family that we discussed since our honeymoon in Maui. My father died when I was 19, right before architecture school, and my mother Patricia raised me alone, working 2 jobs while teaching me that integrity wasn't negotiable. You keep your word. You honor your commitments. You protect your family. That Tuesday evening in March, those lessons would be tested in ways I never imagined. Jessica stood in our kitchen, hands trembling as she held a pregnancy test. Golden hour light filtered through the windows, making her hair glow like some kind of angel. "Matthew," she said, voice cracking with manufactured emotion I didn't recognize yet, "I'm pregnant." I should have felt joy. Instead, my stomach dropped like an anchor into cold water. We hadn't had sex in 6 months. 6 months. It started last September when she began working late at Horizon Marketing Group, coming home exhausted with claims of stress and headaches and not feeling connected. I tried everything: date nights at our favorite Italian place, weekend hikes, honest conversations over wine where I'd asked what I could do differently. She always had an excuse, always a reason to push me away. Now she walked toward me with tears in her eyes and I knew. God help me, I knew. "Aren't you happy?" she asked. I forced a smile that felt like broken glass cutting my face. "Of course," I lied, pulling her into an embrace while my mind raced. "I'm just shocked." That night, as Jessica slept peacefully beside me, I stared at our ceiling and made a decision that would change everything. I took 2 days off work, telling Jessica it was for a project deadline while I became a detective in my own marriage. The rain pelted our home office windows as I sat in the harsh blue glow of my computer screen, multiple browser tabs reflected in my eyes like evidence of my unraveling world. I started with her phone records. We shared a family plan, and I still had admin access from when I'd set up our accounts 3 years ago. The numbers told a story Jessica thought she'd hidden, hundreds of texts to a contact saved as Melissa Jim. But I'd met Melissa dozens of times at Jessica's actual gym. This wasn't her number. I ran it through a reverse lookup service, my hands shaking as the page loaded. The name hit me like a freight train: Derek Vaughn. Jessica's colleague at Horizon Marketing, the senior creative director she'd mentioned casually over the past year. "Derek thinks we should pivot the campaign. Derek got us that client lunch." I'd even met him once at her holiday party, tall, charismatic, with that practiced smile that didn't reach his calculating eyes. He'd shaken my hand firmly while probably knowing he was sleeping with my wife. Bank statements showed cash withdrawals Jessica never mentioned. $200, $300 at a time, always on Thursdays. Hotel charges from the Alexis Hotel downtown on her credit card, same day as her extended client meetings. I needed irrefutable proof, so I did something I never thought I'd do: installed tracking software on her laptop while she showered. Within hours, I had access to her messages. The first one destroyed me: "Can't wait to see you Thursday. These stolen moments are the only time I feel truly alive." D. Her response haunts me still: "I know, baby. Soon we won't have to hide anymore. Just need to figure out the Matthew situation." For 2 weeks, I became an actor in my own life, playing the loving husband-to-be while rage simmered beneath every smile. Jessica blossomed in her deception, starting a pregnancy journal and sending me sonogram appointment dates with little heart emojis. She'd touch her still flat stomach and suggest we look at the spare bedroom for a nursery. "Maybe soft yellow?" she'd say dreamily. "Gender neutral until we know." I played along perfectly, buying prenatal vitamins and downloading pregnancy tracking apps. I even called my mother, hearing such pure joy in her voice when I shared the news that I had to step outside and vomit in our garden. But while Jessica decorated Pinterest boards with nursery themes, I was decorating something else, a comprehensive dossier of her affair. I hired Marcus Chin, a private investigator and former Seattle PD detective with a reputation for thoroughness. I need evidence that would hold up in court, I told him in his cramped office that smelled like coffee and old files. Photographs, timestamps, everything. Within a week, Marcus delivered. Photos of Jessica and Derek entering the Alexis Hotel, kissing in his car, walking hand in hand through Pike Place Market while I was supposedly at a client meeting. Marcus also dug into Derek's background, finding court documents from his second divorce citing adultery with a co-worker. There was a sealed harassment complaint from a former employee at his previous firm. Derek had a type: married women, subordinates, people he could manipulate and discard. Jessica wasn't special. She was a pattern, just another conquest for a predator in expensive suits. Armed with this information, I scheduled a meeting with Catherine Reeves, Seattle's most ruthless divorce attorney. She reviewed my evidence with sharp eyes. "Matthew, we can protect every asset you have. But why wait? Why not confront her now?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "Because I'm not just filing for divorce, Catherine. I'm dismantling everything." The sonogram appointment fell on a Thursday, ironically Jessica's usual Derek day. She'd rescheduled her hotel rendezvous for this performance, and I wondered if he was angry about the interruption to their routine. We sat in the waiting room under fluorescent lights that cast harsh shadows across her nervous face. She kept glancing at her phone, probably texting Derek about how this charade was going, how soon she could leave me and start her real life with him and their baby. "Matthew Barnes?" the nurse called. We walked into the examination room together, a couple united in anticipation. The ultrasound technician, Linda, was kind and cheerful as she spread cold gel across Jessica's abdomen. "Let's see your little one," she said. The screen flickered to life, showing a tiny shape with a heartbeat pulsing like a warning signal I should have heard months ago. "Looks like you're about 8 weeks along," Linda announced. "Everything appears healthy." 8 weeks. I did the math instantly, late January. I'd been in Portland that week for an architecture conference, staying in a hotel alone while Jessica was home with what she'd claimed was the flu. She'd barely answered my calls, saying she needed rest. Now I knew what, or who, she was actually doing. "Would you like to hear the heartbeat?" Linda asked. Jessica nodded, tears forming in those deceitful eyes. As that rapid thump-thump-thump filled the room, I felt profound sadness, not for this child but for the family I'd imagined, the children I'd wanted with someone who actually loved me. Jessica squeezed my hand. "Can you believe it?" she whispered. "We're going to be parents." The lie was so complete, so seamless, that I almost admired the audacity. Almost. That evening, while Jessica visited Derek's Capitol Hill apartment under the guise of dinner with colleagues, I forwarded the ultrasound images to Catherine Reeves with a message: 8 weeks pregnant. Irrefutable timeline. Proceed with Phase 2. I requested a meeting with Sharon Mills, Horizon Marketing's HR director, under the pretense of discussing a potential marketing contract for my architecture firm. What I actually brought was a nuclear weapon in a manila folder. Sharon was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that had seen every corporate manipulation imaginable. "Mr. Barnes," she said, shaking my hand in her glass-walled conference room, "I understand you want to discuss a collaboration?" "Not exactly," I replied, sliding the folder across the mahogany table. "I'm here because your senior creative director, Derek Vaughn, is having an affair with one of his direct reports, my wife, Jessica Barnes. I believe this violates your company's fraternization policy." Sharon's expression didn't change, but her fingers stiffened on the folder. Inside were Marcus's photographs, time-stamped and dated, along with printed message exchanges showing the calculated nature of their affair. Marcus had discovered that Sharon had been building a case against Derek for months. 2 previous complaints from female employees about inappropriate behavior had been quietly settled by the previous HR director. Sharon wanted Derek gone but needed ironclad evidence to override the CEO's fondness for Derek's impressive client roster. She reviewed each document carefully, her jaw tightening with each page. "This is comprehensive," she said finally. "Mr. Barnes, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. We take these matters seriously." "I'm not finished," I continued. "I also know about the sealed harassment complaint from his previous firm. And I know Jessica isn't his first affair with a subordinate here. There's an associate named Megan Torres who left last year after Derek promised to leave his wife for her." Sharon's eyes widened. That detail was news even to her. "Give me 48 hours, she said. "Derek won't make Friday's board presentation." We shook hands, sealing Derek Vaughn's fate. Friday morning arrived like a thunderstorm I'd been orchestrating for weeks. I worked from home, watching everything unfold through Marcus's surveillance and a burner phone number I'd given Sharon. Jessica left at 8, kissing my cheek and touching her stomach in that performative way that made my skin crawl. "Big presentation day," she said brightly. "Derek's pitching to the board. Should be exciting." I smiled and wished her luck, knowing her world was about to shatter. At 9:47, Sharon called Derek and Jessica into her office separately. Derek went first. At 10:23, Sharon texted my burner, "Vaughn terminated effective immediately. Security escorting him out. Your wife's meeting in 10 minutes." Through Marcus's facility management contact, I learned what happened in that room. Sharon presented Jessica with evidence of Derek's inappropriate relationship with a direct report. Jessica tried denying it, then deflecting, then claiming it was consensual and none of the company's business. "Ms. Barnes," Sharon said coldly, "Mr. Vaughn has been terminated. You're being placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation. Your access has been revoked. Collect your belongings under security supervision." Jessica called me at 11:04, sobbing hysterically. "Matthew, something terrible happened at work. I'm coming home. I need you." I let it go to voicemail, then called Catherine Reeves. "It's time," I said. "Serve the papers." What nobody knew was I'd had a paternity test kit waiting in my desk for 2 weeks, the kind using prenatal cell-free DNA from the mother's blood. I'd bribed a phlebotomist $500 for Jessica's sample from her routine pregnancy blood work. The results came back 3 days ago, 0% probability of paternity. Scientific proof her child wasn't mine. When Jessica pulled into our driveway at 11:47, a process server named Dale was waiting with an envelope that would end our marriage. I'd returned home 20 minutes after the papers were served, sitting in my favorite armchair overlooking Puget Sound, waiting for the hurricane. Jessica exploded through the door at 1:15, mascara streaked, looking utterly destroyed. "Matthew," she screamed. "What the fuck is this?" She threw the divorce petition at me, papers scattering across our hardwood floor like the remnants of 8 wasted years. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just looked at her with the calm I'd been cultivating. "It's exactly what it looks like. The end of our marriage." "You had no right," she started, but I cut her off. "I had every right," I said quietly. "You committed adultery. You tried to pass another man's child off as mine. You planned to trap me in a lie for the rest of my life. So yes, Jessica, I had every fucking right." She cycled through the cheater's playbook. Denial, deflection, blame, bargaining. "It's not what you think. You've been distant too. If you'd been a better husband. We can fix this, counseling can help." I let her exhaust herself, watching this stranger wearing my wife's face. When she finally stopped, panting and crying, I stood. "Do you know what the worst part is? Not the affair. Not even the pregnancy. It's that you looked me in the eye every single day and lied. You let me tell my mother she was going to be a grandmother. You destroyed 8 years of trust for Thursday afternoons at the Alexis Hotel?" Jessica crumpled onto the couch. "I love him," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen, but I love him." I laughed, dark, genuine amusement. "You love him?" Derek was fired this morning for sexual harassment. He's being sued by his second ex-wife for unpaid alimony. You're not special, Jessica. You're a pattern. And now you're both unemployed. Jessica's face transformed through shock, horror, and rage before landing on calculation. I could see her mind working, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. "The house," she said suddenly, desperately. "This house is half mine. The accounts are frozen," I interrupted. "Per the temporary restraining order attached to the divorce petition. You have access to your individual accounts only. The house, which is in my name because my father's inheritance paid the down payment, stays with me. You have 30 days to remove your belongings." She stood, trembling with fury. "You bastard. I'll fight this. I'll take you for everything." I pulled out another document from the folder beside my chair. "Then you'll be fighting these facts. Evidence of you planning to defraud me regarding paternity, documented proof of your affair, and detailed accounting showing you depleted marital funds on hotels and gifts for Derek." I handed her the settlement offer. "You walk away with your car, your personal accounts, and $50,000. You waive all claims to the house, my retirement, and future earnings. You sign a non-disclosure agreement. And you never contact me again." "And if I don't sign?" she asked, voice venomous. "Then Catherine Reeves will ensure this becomes the ugliest, most public divorce Seattle has seen. Every detail. Every hotel receipt. Every message about handling the Matthew situation will be public record. Your choice. Jessica signed 8 days later. She didn't have a choice. Derek had ghosted her the moment he lost his job, and her own parents, when they learned the truth, told her she'd made her bed. Through Marcus, I tracked the aftermath like a case study in consequences. Derek's wife filed for divorce. His second ex-wife garnished his future earnings. He moved to his parents' place in Spokane working freelance. Jessica called him 47 times that first week. He answered twice, both times to end it. 6 months after the divorce was served, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. Subject line, "You don't know me, but I need to thank you." Her name was Megan Torres, the woman Derek had promised to leave his wife for, who'd left Horizon Marketing the previous year. We met at a coffee shop near Pike Place Market, rain streaking the windows like tears. Megan was petite with intelligent eyes and the cautious demeanor of someone badly burned. "I read about Derek's termination through a former colleague," she said, hands wrapped around her latte. "When I heard why and that you reported him, I had to reach out." She told me her story, how Derek had pursued her relentlessly when she was 26, fresh to the company and ambitious. He'd promised mentorship, advancement, love. Said his marriage was over, just paperwork remaining. For 8 months she'd believed him. "Then I got pregnant," Megan said quietly. "He gave me $2,000 and a clinic name. Told me it would ruin both our careers if anyone found out. I was terrified, so I did what he wanted. 2 weeks later, I saw him having lunch with his wife and kids like nothing happened." Megan had quit, moved to Portland, rebuilt her life. But the damage stayed, the shame, the self-blame, the feeling she'd somehow deserved it. "When I heard what happened to you," she continued, "I realized you were the first person who'd actually held Derek accountable. His other victims just disappeared quietly. But you didn't. You made sure there were consequences." She pulled out a folder containing everything from her time with Derek. Messages, emails, the clinic receipt. "I'm meeting with an attorney next week. But I wanted you to know what you did mattered." It gave me courage. 14 months have passed since Jessica told me she was pregnant with another man's child. My townhouse feels different now, lighter, like I'd been living in shadows without realizing it. I threw myself into work, winning a contract to design a sustainable housing development in Bellingham that earned me an AIA Washington Council Award and 3 more commissions. I traveled to places Jessica never wanted to go: Iceland, Japan, Portugal, rediscovering who Matthew Barnes was without the weight of someone else's lies. My therapist, Dr. Patel, helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't just betrayal but a form of abuse. Jessica's gaslighting, her manipulation, her willingness to trick me into raising another man's child, these weren't just moral failures. They were calculated cruelties designed to serve her fantasy while destroying my reality. Through Marcus, I heard updates I didn't request but couldn't ignore. Jessica's daughter was born healthy in December. Derek's child support kicked in at $800 monthly, paid with the bitterness of a man who'd lost everything. Jessica was working at a small Tacoma firm, struggling with single motherhood and the reputation that followed her like a shadow. I don't take pleasure in her struggles. Revenge was never about making her suffer. It was about ensuring she couldn't continue hurting me or benefiting from her deception. Everything I did was defensive, protective, about reclaiming my autonomy and my future. Last month, I went on a date with Elena, a landscape architect with kind eyes and an honest laugh. We're taking it slow. I'm not ready to trust completely, but I'm learning. People ask if I regret how I handled things, if maybe I was too ruthless, too calculated. My answer is always the same: I protected myself with the same planning Jessica used to betray me. The difference is my plan was defensive. Hers was offensive. I'm building a life that's entirely my own now. No lies, no manipulation, no betrayals hidden in shadows. Sometimes the best endings are new beginnings. If this shocked you, subscribe, like, comment, and share, because the next story is worse.